Hello? Hello, this is the President. Hello, this is the President of the United States. Who is this? Is it you again?
Look behind you.
This is my private line. How did you get through?
They're everywhere. All the time. We see them every day. But you have to look behind you.
There is nothing behind me. How did you get this number?
The spaceman told me.
What spaceman?
It doesn't matter. I'm telling you about monsters. Please, you must look behind you.
Young lady, there are no monsters in the Oval Office.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, the loudspeaker spoke up and said, give up, give up, give up, give up, give up.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. Buckle up, Dorothy. We're going to have a fun show tonight. I'm really excited. We got two great guests coming up in the second and third hour. Dr. Demento is going to be on the show along with Mr. Lobo. Dr. Demento is going to be talking to us about the history of Halloween music. And, of course, Mr. Lobo talking about scary movies, some of his best. And that's the thing is that, I did a show, I think, a while back where I was talking about my favorite horror films. And somebody said, well, I missed it. I want another show about your favorite horror film. And I said, well, maybe what we'll do is around Halloween, we'll kind of, dish out the old movies and everything, and maybe we'll get some good guests on to talk about it. Halloween's my favorite holiday. I like Christmas, I guess, but it seems that everybody around me is too old for Christmas. Christmas is for kids. And if the kids aren't around, it's just not fun. If you're not at the mall seeing Santa, it's just not fun. Halloween is fun because, well, there are a lot of things you can do for Halloween. You can watch a scary movie. You can listen to weird songs. You can read a scary book. You can go to a Halloween party. You can dress up, whatever. It's a holiday where people get to pretend. They get to pretend that they're somebody else. They get to wear a crazy costume, shock and surprise people for one day, and then safely return to the comfort of their homes, their lives, and their personal identities. That's the fun of Halloween. But this year, what's sad is I was talking with an Uber driver the other day, and she said, I always pick up people that are in Halloween costumes. She said, this year I don't see anybody. And I said, really? And she says, yeah, I don't think anybody's going to go downtown this year. I don't think anybody's going to be trick-or-treating this year. Everybody's afraid of the candy being laced with fentanyl and all this other nonsense. And I said, yeah, usually they've been trying to cancel Halloween. Parents have tried to cancel Halloween with PTA gatherings and not letting the kids go trick-or-treating, and some people say that they don't want to go to dances, but I think something actually, in a lot of ways, has put a stake through the heart of the season. COVID-19 has taken us away from the spirit of the holiday. We worry about war. We got the midterms coming up, and like I said, the candy. It just bothers me that every time I turn around, I see a fentanyl story that there's candy that looks like children's candy. And it's laced with fentanyl, Okay, this is ruining Halloween for the kids. The authorities take all the fun out of a holiday. It's supposed to be festive. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be I really miss, and I'd love to do this, except I think I'm too stupid now to even do it right. Carve a pumpkin, for crying out loud. I used to do the pumpkin carving contest in my other office. That was a blast, man. I used to just love carving pumpkins and the smell of the candles. The candle, when you put the candle in the pumpkin and you smell that smell. I love that smell. It's just having it in the house at Halloween. It's up there with potpourri during Christmas. It's a different type of smell. It's like an old cabin smell. It's really, I don't know. But that's the problem. I think that we have been told to wear masks. We've been hiding behind masks for so long. I think a lot of people just can't take them off. I know there's still people. I had to go to the doctor today. Every time I go to the doctor, I have to wear a mask, and I can't breathe when I wear a mask. I have to rip it off the minute I get out of the doctor's office. When I take an Uber, I have taken an Uber now because I don't know if you know this, but I've had some leg problems, and so I have to put my legs are in soft casts right now, and so I can't drive because I'm wearing these huge Frankenstein-type sandals on my feet. And so I can't drive my car, so I have to take an Uber. And so, the Uber drivers are still wearing masks. And they're cracking their window down. It's like we haven't left the plague yet. It's like we haven't left COVID. And like I say, we've been hiding behind masks for so long, we can't take them off. And so Halloween, it may be more difficult for people to say, well, I'm going to mask up. I'm going to wear makeup. I'm going to do something. We want to breathe free, I suppose. But I find it quite interesting how the word mask, I was looking it up the other day. I was trying to find ways to find some interesting tidbits about Halloween because somebody had sent me an email. They're saying maybe you could do a show about the history of Halloween. Maybe do the show about a history of parts of Halloween. Maybe talk about why we do what we do, why jack-o'-lanterns are made and all this other stuff. And I thought, yeah, I think a lot of people have heard that before. But I think there's some aspects that you haven't heard that I thought I would explore. And of course, with this show, we try to bring you something interesting that's not always talked about. So if you go and you look up the word mask, and if you look into the word mask, you see that the word mask, if you look at the Latin word for mask, it's larva. Also, some people say that ghost is connected to mask. So larva and ghosts are words that are connected with mask. Now, we have the word larva, and it also denotes the disguise of a person who wants to hide his evil plans. The word larva is also a stage of development in insects. And I find it ironic that larvae and various other insects are the proposed diet for all of us in the future. So not only are they getting us to wear masks or larvae, they want us to eat larvae, mealworms. How ghastly is that? How ghastly is that we can't escape that? They want us to eat larvae, and then what happens to us when we die? We become worm food after we die. So the supranational entity that's run by sociopaths and psychopaths, which wear masks behind masks, they conceal their lack of empathy, decreed that the public should also wear actual masks to conceal their actual empathy for their followers, for those who follow them. And there seems to be this ritual. It's this ritual component that you just can't put your finger on. These masks are often used in ritual to ward away evil spirits. That's why they wore masks at Halloween. Sometimes the masks were worn to transform the identity to that of the being represented by the mask. Remember the Twilight Zone where they wore the masks and became the people they were wearing the mask? That's something that goes all the way back to ancient times. Other times, the masks themselves represented the disease that caused the sickness, and they all want us to be faceless actors on a stage that they have set. They have set the stage, and of course, Shakespeare has said that the ultimate, he said, what? We're all on the world's stage. The whole world is a stage, he said. All the world's a stage, and we're the players, right? I don't know if I agree with that, because I would say that you just see that some people just don't want to act. Some people just don't want to play along. 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. You were listening to Ground Zero. I'm Clyde Lewis. So I'm not satisfied with this doom and gloom. I want the fun to begin again. I want the doom and gloom of the past 2 years to go away. In fact, I was itching to do some fun Halloween shows and try and get into the spirit of the times. Well, because Halloween's for kids too. It's like I said about Christmas. I mean, the children play at scaring and being scared. But the scary part is that, and I don't want to sound too morbid or too macabre, but death walks among them and they scream with glee. They just look at death, that they face it. The play is on. The Grim Reaper walks up and down the street. Treats greet them. The costumes are ingenious. The masks, everything. It's all fun. Candy's cool. Carameled apples rule. Except I haven't gotten one this year. I'm not going to be able to eat them because I'm trying to watch my weight. Yeah, it's a lot of weight to watch. But I'm just saying, Halloween, when it ends, it's such a disappointment. Halloween ends, the saints come marching in, then we have the souls of the dead, the Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. Then we have spirits, ghosts, and everything. I mean, Halloween isn't the only day. Halloween is the scary day. The holy day is supposed to be the day after. Because then we start recognizing that the seasons are dying off. The winters are coming. The leaves are falling. Dead leaves are flying everywhere. Snow starts drifting. We're surrounded by all these dead plants. We're surrounded by all the dead grass and everything. I mean, and we are the ones that have to be introspect until, well, perhaps not until we die, or perhaps not until the dead awaken and see through the charade of social life and realize that these little mass performers are not just the deadly politicians, not just the celebrities, not just and while these days of the dead and these days of the children's games can bring us to wonder whether we act like people or the actors, or is there something more to the holiday? I don't know. But maybe the old-fashioned cider and the bobbing for apples should be renewed, and the party should return. You know, there are plenty of people out there that will tell you that Halloween is a day set aside for Satan. And I figured that people who say this are joyless about the holiday because they don't like things that scare them. I sometimes forget that there are people out there that are afraid of those things that go bump in the night. But Halloween is more than that. It's more than just an excuse for good girls to dress up like naughty nurses or pregnant nuns. The festivities are amazing. The fun parties, the scary movies, really good Halloween music to make you cringe. I do mean cringe. Even though it's always an opportune moment to break out the Monster Mash and play it until someone threatens to smother you with a pillow. There is a history of Halloween music that begins with the Devil's Chord. Everyone knows the sounds of Halloween are creaky floorboards and howling winds and the amplified sound of a beating heart. But back in the day, the devil was said to exist in a particular musical tone. For centuries, it was called the devil's interval, or in Latin, diabolus in musica. In music theory, it's called the tritone because it's made of 3 whole steps. It goes by many names. Diabolus in musica, of course, devil in music. The devil's interval, the tritone, the triad, and the flattened fifth. So as its Latin moniker suggests, it's an evil-sounding combination of notes that are designed to create a chilling or foreboding atmosphere. The interval was given a sinister name since listeners originally found it unpleasant and surprising. Before the tritone became a common tool in rock and roll, listeners expected artists to play chords and patterns that were pleasing to the ear. When a tone that wasn't mellifluous as the triad, then it was inserted into musical passages and it was unsettling because it didn't conform to the listener's expectations. So the simple technique has been used most effectively in heavy metal. It's often credited to Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath is probably one of the first, if not, well, there's, of course, there's so many others, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, Rob Zombie. They use this chord, this tritone chord. And what happened was Tony Iommi, who played Black Sabbath, Ozzy's band or Dio's band, depending on what side of the tracks you're on. There was an album called Black Sabbath that came out. And although Iommi was untrained in music theory, he devised this 3-note passage. Dum, 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 dum. You remember that? It was a doom, doom, doom. And he got that idea from listening to classical music. And I don't know if anybody is familiar, but apparently Geezer Butler had turned Tony Iommi onto Mars, the Bringer of War by Holst. Mars, the Bringer of War is a fantastic orchestration. We've used it before on the show. It's played occasionally in some of our montages. But as I say, it's very familiar. If you hear it, you'll understand, what you're listening to. And you can hear the inspiration of how that Black Sabbath track, Black Sabbath, how it got its inspiration from Holst the Planets. So when Tony Iommi imitated the sound on a guitar, he liked that foreboding, unsettling feeling it created. So he experimented with the passage, then he slowed it down to a crawl so he could get every detail. That's from the Holst Planets, if you remember. But he gave it a variation. And today, a lot of music critics consider the Black Sabbath song, it was Black Sabbath's title track to Black Sabbath, they see Tony Iommi as a genius because this tritone chord that he used in the song Black Sabbath, a lot of people believe that was when heavy metal had its birth. Heavy metal music, heavy metal rock. So if you look at throughout the decades, I know that Metallica, you look at Metallica, Judas Priest, Slayer, Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, they have used many times in many of their songs the Devil's Interval to add darkness and power to their music. Slayer even named their 1998 album Diabolus in Musica because it was basically an homage to the technique. And while those who hate heavy metal because it uses the devil's chord, it may be surprising to learn that the devil's chord was used in songs like Leonard Bernstein's he used the devil's triad in Maria from West Side Story. Maria, the vocal chorus line, Maria, is that sound. And also Astrud Gilberto and Stan Getz used the devil's interview in The Girl from Ipanema. Do, 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 do. Girl from Ipanema also has the devil's interval in it. So, and then, of course, YYZ from Rush. King Crimson, they use the descending tritone in Red. And, of course, if you listen to Primus, they play flatted fifths throughout the South Park theme song. Also, the Simpsons theme song uses the devil's interval. Danny Elfman uses the triad right there. And one of the first songs I learned on the bass in band was Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple, which was also a forbidden chord. So there used to be rules in writing music that contained the interval. They said you can't do it because the music's all for God, it's not for anybody else. When they started using the interval, this is where we started getting people really interested in music for some reason. 503-225-0860. It's 503-225-0860. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back.
Are you afraid of the dark? Of being alone? Or are you willing to explore the unknown, holding back your fear, allowing your natural curiosity to guide you, despite warnings? Disappearances.
Weekends are a good time to escape to the woods. Unless the weekend begins with Friday the 13th.
The storm has had some effect on time, as we know it. It created a portal. A door into another era. Today is
Friday the 13th.
What's happening here? Who are you people?
Why don't you tell him what's going on here, Commander?
We're about to fight a battle that was lost before most of you were born.
Because 13 is an unlucky number. But out here, so are 1 through 12.
This time, God's help, it's going to be different.
There are forces in the universe which we're only now just beginning to understand.
I shot him 6 times! I shot him in the heart! He's not human!
Season of the witch, the night no one comes home.
Sin in 3D.
This February.
I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. So during the Renaissance, all music had one purpose: to be beautiful and express the majesty of God. Anything otherwise was studiously avoided. But once music was no longer shackled to the church, it was free to express all kinds of tension. So the Devil's Interval was ideal for that. It was created by musicians. Ever wonder why the Twilight Zone theme is so creepy? Well, it cleverly drills us with the eerie Devil's Interval. Just play the roof. Let's see what you do. Play the root note, play it twice, diminish fifth once, and then the fifth, and repeat the sequence. And the tune will jog your memory, right? It'll sound very foreboding. I wanted to do an experiment with you. Let's do a little experiment. Now, we all know about Black Sabbath, right? And we all know that it has the Devil's Chord in it. But there's another song that has the Devil's Chord in it too. You never expect it. But if you put them together, it makes for a very creepy moment in song. I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. So how could it be that the Devil's Interval is heard in a Black Sabbath song, but also heard in a very innocent song called Ben by Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5? You see, as I said, the Simpsons theme has the Devil's Chord in it. Danny Elfman put that together. And there's several other well-known theme songs that have had the Devil's Chord in them. And it's there basically to get your attention. And a lot of bands have used it over the years. And as Tony Iommi, when he put that together with Geezer Butler, certainly showed his genius for heavy metal. But how are we to know that we could mix songs like that were considered the Devil's Interval with a sweet song like Ben? I guess a lot of people don't know that Ben was also the theme for a horror film. 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. I'm Clyde Lewis. You are listening to Ground Zero. So that's pretty interesting, isn't it? That you're able to mix those two together. And a lot of people don't realize, just where to find that Devil's Chord or that Devil's Interval. And like I said, if you look around and like I said, the Twilight Zone theme actually has that same Devil's Chord in it. Here's another one that has the Devil's Chord in it. This is a well-known song. We all know this song. Listen to this. You have the Munsters theme. That has the Devil's Chord in it. Dun, 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 dun. You just keep repeating it over and over again. It sounds pretty menacing. And, it's funny and ironic that the Munsters theme has that in it because, of course, Rob Zombie is directing the new Munsters movie as well. And he's known for making what is called the Devil's Chord in a lot of his music. Here's one of our favorites by Rob. This is called Dragula. Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero. There's a little bit of the devil's interval for you. I mean, we heard Black Sabbath and, of course, Rob Zombie, who, is the director of the new Munsters. It's out. It's on Netflix right now. And if you haven't got a chance to see it, you should see it. Because it's a departure from Rob Zombie doing, I guess you could say, really bloody films like House of a Thousand Corpses and Three from Hell. And, he has this fascination with old 70s grindhouse films. He's put them together really well. But The Munsters is his love letter to the Munsters. He's a big fan of the Munsters. Of course, Dragula. Dragula is Grandpa's car. This is, burn in the, dig through the ditches and burn through the witches and slam in the back of my Dragula. That's a line taken from a Munsters movie that came out with Grandpa having to make a car out of a coffin so that he can win the Munsters coach back from some guy who won it in a racetrack. So if you haven't seen those old Munsters films, I love the Munsters. Munsters are one of my favorite. I mean, we had Eddie Munster on the show a while back, if you remember, and he was talking about the new Munsters film and how much he enjoys it and how much he thought it was a great show. And it is. It's a pretty great show. Let's go to Pat in Nebraska. Hey, Pat, you're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. Yeah, I was very shocked that you brought that up because not many people realize that that the heavy metal music industry really cashed in on that. What is known as the demonic fourth and fifth scale, which is a series of fourth and fifths. I was just, reaffirming that. I took some music in college,
right?
And that was one of the things that they pointed out. But yeah, if you've ever been to an Ozzy concert or a Slayer concert or whatever, it is the most creepiest but most intense and amazing show. Yep. And it wouldn't be that way without it. And there's a lot of movie background and stuff like that that's just really amazing.
Yeah, the new Batman soundtrack. Have you seen the new Batman? The new Batman soundtrack is loaded with that, and they loaded with those dark chords like that, and even The Empire Strikes Back. Remember when Darth Vader walks in, he goes dun 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 dun. That's also part of that too.
Yeah, absolutely, and in the way the music and resonates in a person's head, and it sets the stage for whatever type of presentation, and it adds that extra ambiance, and it's just amazing, and like for fun, I would sit on my porch on Halloween night with my guitar, and I would just do heavy, playing these chords.
The Devil's Interval,
just making scary sounds and dressing up funny and stuff. So,
Pat, I really appreciate you sharing that with us. That's amazing. I appreciate that.
You bet. Thank you.
You have a good night. Take care. Coming up, Dr. Demento will be on the show. We're going to talk more about music from Halloween. It's time that we're going to go into some of the campy music from Halloween, the Monster Mash and beyond the Monster Mash. Tonight on Ground Zero, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. I'm Clyde Lewis. You're listening to Ground Zero, and we'll be back. Hey guys, it's Clyde Lewis from Ground Zero. With the rise of the cancel culture and an increase in social media censorship, we need to make a big change. So we decided to create a very unique digital platform. It's called Aftermath.media. It's an exclusive online multimedia library featuring an interactive social media section with a chat room, videos, audio clips, archived Ground Zero podcasts, documents, books, and magazines. Our news aggregator provides current news relating to many of the topics we cover. We're expanding our research and study groups as well, which presently includes Tracy Twyman, William Cooper, Nate Russell, and Jim Keith. Also, check out popular podcast Conspirifect with Wes and Bill. Updated apps will be available soon. The monthly subscription for Aftermath is only $10 a month, and if you sign up now for the yearly subscription, it's only $79. You want to hear the shows you love and support Great Talk Radio. Go to aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Spinning complacently in the darkness, covered and blinded by a blanket of little lives, false security has lulled the madness of this world into a slumber. Wake up. An eye is upon you, staring straight down and keenly through, seeing all that you are and everything that you can never be. Yes, an eye is upon you, an eye ready to blink. So face forward, with arms wide open and mind reeling. Your future has arrived. Are you ready to go?
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
"Red City."
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
"Red City."
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
"Red City."
Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up. Give up.
Red City. Red City. Red City.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. Having a little fun tonight for Halloween. Special show dealing with music. We just talked about the Devil's Chord and the Devil's Interval. Played a few songs, very surprising a few songs that have the Devil's Interval in it, including the Simpsons theme. Also, we have the Munsters theme. We played Dragula, a bunch of songs. But most of the songs, I mean, there's more to the devil in music, I guess, for Halloween. Halloween tunes are usually far, far away from anything that would be considered heavy and terrifying. And most of the songs that are played at Halloween parties are usually harmless, goofy songs about Dracula, the Wolfman, and Frankenstein's monster. One such song is the Monster Mash, okay? And I remember as a kid listening to it. Then I got older, I got tired of it. But it certainly, if you look at the history of the song, if you look at the songs that came after it and before it, it was a perfect Boris Karloff impression by Bobby Boris Pickett. The Monster Mash really did become the hit, and many people, it's almost like it's multi-generational. Since it came out in 1962, this song, of course, is a goofy novelty song, has been a perennial hit, and it's scared its way into the airwaves and into the hearts of generation after generation after generation. Even though it could be tedious, like singing Happy Birthday, it is a staple for every Halloween countdown. So let's play a little bit of it for you.
When my eyes beheld an eerie sight, for my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
he did the mash.
He did the Monster Mash.
The Monster Mash.
It was a graveyard smash.
He did the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
He did the mash.
He did the monster mash. From my laboratory in the castle east to the master bedroom where the vampires feast. The ghouls all came from their humble abodes to get a jolt from my electrode.
They did the mash.
They did the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It was a graveyard
They
smash.
did the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
They did the mash.
They did the monster mash. The zombies were having fun. The party had just begun. The guests included Wolfman, Dracula, and his son. The scene was rocking, all were digging the sounds. Igor on chains, backed by his baying hounds. The coffin bangers were about to arrive with their vocal group, the Crypt Kicker Five.
They played the mash.
They played the monster mash.
The monster mash.
It was a graveyard
They
smash.
played the mash.
It caught on in a flash.
They played the mash.
They played the monster mash. Out from his coffin, Rex's voice did ring. Seemed he was troubled by just one thing. Opened the lid and shook his fist and said, "Whatever happened to my Transylvania twist?"
It's now the mash.
It's now the monster
The
mash.
monster mash.
And it's a graveyard
It's
smash.
now the mash.
It's caught on in a flash.
It's now the mash.
It's now the monster mash. Now everything's cool. Drax a part of the band, and my monster mash is the hit of the land. For you, the living, this mash was meant to. When you get to my door, tell them Boris sent you.
Then you can mash.
Then you can monster mash,
The monster mash.
and do my graveyard
Then you
smash.
can mash.
You'll catch on in a flash.
Then you can mash.
Then you can monster mash.
I'm Clyde Lewis. That's Bobby Boris Pickett. And everybody knows this song. It's the Monster Mash. It plays every year at Halloween. And I can't think of any other person that I'd rather share a goofy Halloween moment with than none other than Dr. Demento. And here he is, the one, the only, the master of goofy Halloween. It's Dr. Demento. Welcome to Ground Zero. Hello, Dr. Demento, you there? I wonder if he's not by the phone right now. Did we get the phone up with him? Dr. Demento? There you are. Are you there, Dr. Demento?
Yes.
Hi. We just were introducing you. How you doing, man?
Oh, all right, Clyde. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I decided that for Halloween, because somebody had said to me, they said, why don't you do something about the history of Halloween? Why don't you do something about the history of this? And I thought, what better history is there than the music of Halloween? I just played the Monster Mash by Bobby Boris Pickett. Did you ever interview him?
Yes.
So, okay, so how did this song come about? Because it's become, like I said, a multi-generational hit. How did this come about, this song?
Well, Bobby Pickett's parents ran a little movie theater in Somerville, Massachusetts, outside of Boston, and they played. It was a small movie theater that played mostly older classic movies, and so young Bobby Pickett heard several movies involving Boris Karloff from the time that he was a little kid, and he really got excited about imitating Boris's voice. And then after a while, he came to Los Angeles and got in a vocal group, and they one of the vocal group songs was "Little Darlin'" by the Diamonds, which some of you may remember it was a big hit in 1958.
Right.
And it has a spoken part in it, which was done in a deep voice, kind of like the Ink Spots used to do. So young Bobby Pickett, singing in this vocal group, decided that he would do talking interludes like the one from Little Darlin' in a Bobby Boris Pickett voice. And it went over very well. And so he and one of the other members of the group decided to write a novelty song called The Monster Mash. And they recorded it in a little studio in Hollywood, and it became a #1 hit.
And it certainly has come back over and over again as a #1 hit, many times charting, and it's been resurrected many times, multi-generational. I'm going to talk with Dr. Demento coming up about a sequel that many people don't know about of this song. It was called The Monster Swim. I don't think many people have aired this song. I think probably Dr. Demento has. But in the meantime, we're going to be playing that coming up, too, just to talk about the history that goes on beyond the Monster Mash. With Dr. Demento right here on Ground Zero, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. Back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away. So many people are writing me right now, sending me emails and messages, thanking me for bringing on Dr. Demento. People love you, Dr. D. They love you, and we love you, too. That's why it's always nice to have you on the show. Such an enormous mind and library and everything you have and all of the ideas about music. And that's why I couldn't do a Halloween show with Halloween music without you. And that's why I wanted you to come on the program, because as I was doing my due diligence and doing a lot of studying on songs, and a lot of the songs, of course, these Halloween songs I'm going to play tonight were introduced by you to me. I learned that, like every good horror movie, Bobby Boris Pickett did a sequel to the Monster Mash. What was that called?
Monsters Holiday.
Or was it? You mean Monsters Swim? That was Buck Owens. What about Monsters Swim? What's that?
Monsters Holiday, which was a Christmas song, was the hit.
Oh, he did Monsters Holiday too?
Yes.
Okay, because I know of the Buck Owens version of it.
Yeah, well, Bobby Pickett did it first.
Right. What about Monsters Swim? I remember. Go ahead.
That was another one. It wasn't a hit, but it got a little play.
Well, let me. I'm going to refresh everybody's memory with this song, because I think that you introduced me to this song when I listened to the Dr. Demento show way back in the day, and I thought it would be interesting to revive it a bit, just to show that Bobby did not stop with the Monster Mash. Here's Bobby Boris Pickett, and this is called The Monster Swim. And it wasn't a hit, but you'll see why coming up.
My name is Boris, and back in '62, the Crypt Kickers and I brought the Monster Mash to you. But now it's a different bag, and mashing is a drag. When the lights grow dim, we now do the Monster Swim. All you would-be monsters, come on in. Boris is going to show you how to Monster Swim. Something like the zombie, but not so slow. A lot like the grave digger, but not so low. We can't do the monkey or even the dog, 'cause they've both been eaten by the blob.
We do the swim.
It's a poolside smash.
The monster swim.
It's bigger than the mash. Here we are swimming under the full moon, the werewolf and the creature from the Black Lagoon. Dracula, what do you think of my new smash? Whatever happened to the Monster Mash?
It's not a swim.
It's a poolside smash.
The monster swim.
It's bigger than the mash. Frankie and Igor are a welcome sight, and vampire are flying in out of the night. Even the Beatles are shaking their domes, dancing to the swim band of the Rolling Bones.
They do the swim.
It's a poolside
The
smash.
monster swim.
It's bigger than the mash.
That's Monster Swim by Bobby Boris Pickett, a song that sank. Really didn't do well, did it, Dr. Demento?
No, it didn't do real well, but it was fun. Actually, the best sequel to Monster Mash that Bobby did was almost 30 years after the original. He did a song called "It's Alive," which is on one of my Dr. Demento basement tape CDs that we put out years ago.
He also did Star Trek. I remember Star Trek from the Dr. Demento album. My first Dr. Demento album I got had Star Trek on it, and that was Bobby Pickett doing Star Trek, right?
Bobby Pickett and Peter Ferrara.
And they put that together. What year was that put together? I'm trying to figure out what year that was.
19 in the late 70s, I believe.
Yeah, because it made the album, and I remember listening to it, and I'm thinking, he's a very good voice actor. And I mean, from doing the Monster Mash with Boris Karloff, and then he's able to do the voices of Star Trek. I thought that was pretty amazing.
Yes. Yeah, he was an excellent voice actor.
Yes, he certainly was. I wanted to kind of talk about another song, and this isn't in the same vein as the Monster Mash, but it first was a parody of the Tearjerker songs. It's Jimmy Cross's "I Want My Baby Back," and I look at this as a horror song. Was it really that? They said it was one of the worst songs ever recorded. Is that true?
Oh, I think it's great.
I do too, but I read somewhere that it was the worst song ever recorded. And I always thought "We Built This City on Rock and Roll" was the worst song ever recorded.
I would agree there. But, whoever put the list together on which, in which that Bobby Pickett follow-up was number one, he's entitled to his opinion.
I guess so. Well, let's let everybody decide on their own if this song, it's called "I Want My Baby Back." This is by Jimmy Cross. Yeah, go ahead. Here we go. Let's see if it'll play. Okay, let's play it.
I want my baby back. Gotta have my baby back. I miss her oh so much. Can't live without her touch. I don't hardly know where to begin. I remember we were cruising home from a Beatles concert. I'd had such a wonderful evening sitting there watching my baby screaming and tearing her hair out and carrying on. She was so full of life then. Well, we were about 3 miles from home when all of a sudden it started to rain. And I do mean rain. I couldn't hardly see nothing. Well, we kept driving for about another mile when all of a sudden I see this stalled car right smack in front of me. Well, I wasn't about to slam on the brakes because I didn't have none to start with. So I swerved to the left, and what do I see? Some mushhead on a motorcycle heading right at us. And I knew at last, me and my baby were about to meet the leader of the... pack. Well, when I come to, I looked around, and there was the leader, and there was the pack, and over there was my baby, and over there was my baby, and way over there was my baby. I want my baby back. Gotta have my baby back. I miss her oh so much. Can't live without her touch. It's been many months now since that fateful night, and you know something, I've tried. Believe me, I have tried, but I just can't make it without my baby. So I've decided I'm gonna have her back one way or another. Oh baby, I dig you so much. Hot dang, pay dirt.
It's a funny song. I love that song. And we're going to be back with more Dr. Demento Halloween songs tonight on Ground Zero. If you have any questions or comments for Dr. Demento, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. Back with more Ground Zero. Don't go away.
Said I'm gonna get a good night's sleep. I got woke up about 12 o'clock and I jumped right to my feet. There was gremlins and goblins, dragons and zombies. Lordy, what an awful sight. I said, good buddy, you may get me, but brother, let me tell you that it's gonna be after the fight. Frankenstein was the first in line and the Wolfman came up next. Was a doing his stuff, breathing down my neck. Jump back, make tracks, here comes the hunchback. Better get out of his way. Fee, fee, fi, fi, fo, fo, fum, it was a monster's holiday. Uncle Bill, well, he took ill and they sent for me to come. Well, I had to pass by the old graveyard, so I went on the run. There was screaming and moaning, wailing and groaning, scary as a mummy's curse. I said, good buddy, you may get me, but brother, let me tell you that you're gonna have to catch me first. Frankenstein was the first in line, and the Wolfman came up next. Dracula was a-doing his stuff, breathing down my neck. Jump back, make tracks, here comes the hunchback. Better get out of his way. Fee, fee, fi, fi, fo, fo, fum, it was a monster's holiday. Fee, fee, fi, fi, fo, fo, fum, it was a monster's holiday.
Gotcha. 1974, that's Buck Owens and Monsters Holiday. Tonight with us, Dr. Demento from the Dr. Demento Show, talking about old Halloween songs. Yeah, and that, you know, I remember when I was a kid, I listened to that song, and I thought, why didn't that song do better? I mean, what, number 6 on the charts? He even named his album Monster Holiday, the album that it came out on. So it was the title track for the album, and I just thought it was interesting that he and the Buckaroos did that song.
Well, I guess Top 40 Radio wasn't quite ready to jump on a Buck Owens record. And those, Bobby Morris Pickett also made a Monsters Holiday song. It's a whole different song. It's more like the Monster Mash.
Now, we're looking back at a lot of old Halloween songs. And I remember, you know, My Old Flame used to play that all the time. That song was a good song you'd play. What are some of the old forgotten gems that you remember that should be part of every Halloween party?
Well, okay. Look out, There's a Monster Coming by Bonzo Dog Doodah Band. The Midnight Stroll by the Revels. That was big in 1962. That's just got off from work. It was awful late. I had to pass the cemetery gate. And it goes on to sing about all the spooky things that happened. There was a great R&B song in the 50s simply called Dead by the Poets. You played "I Want My Baby Back." That's a great one. Mojo Nixon did one called "I'm Gonna Dig Up Howlin' Wolf." the blues singer Howlin' Wolf.
Right.
Mojo Nixon did a song about how he's going to dig up Howlin' Wolf's corpse because he had recently passed on. And let's see, there's Swamp Witch by Jim Stafford is a good one, and This Is Halloween by the Citizens of Halloween from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one. And, usually from the Halloween movie, that song, Happy, Happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock, that song scares me. I don't know why. It gives me the creeps. And I want to play just a piece here of this. I don't know if I have I do have some time. You know who Thurl Ravenscroft is, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so he did a song called Children's Day at the Morgue. And I want to play a little bit of this. I'm just wondering, why was this song?
I haven't heard that in a while.
Okay, I'm going to play this. I'm going to wonder why this song was ever made. Here we go.
Open the doors and let all the little ones in. Don't make them wait. It's a happy time there. After today is Children's Day at the morgue. Look at the smiles and red rosy cheeks. Here they come right through the gate. Hear the sound of joyous laughter. Today is Children's Day at the morgue. I love to see them at play, but it moves me to tears. Have to be sure that they don't take away souvenirs. The little dears, there will be ice cream, candy, and cake and balloons. Don't you be late. Come along and bring the family. Today is Children's Day at the morgue.
And didn't he sing The Grinch, Who Stole Christmas? Didn't he sing that song?
Yeah.
So why would he sing a song about Children's Day at the morgue? I remember when I first heard that song, I thought either that's Tony the Tiger or that's the guy that sings The Grinch. Was he both?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the guy who was Tony the Tiger singing Children's Day at the morgue. Dark song.
Yes. Yeah, I hadn't heard that one in a while, but it's a weird one. I should play it next week.
You should. I mean, I don't know much about it. All I know is I don't remember when I heard it, but I heard it. And I thought, I don't remember this song playing on Dr. Demento. I just listened to it, and I thought, this has got to be the strangest Halloween song that I don't think anybody's ever listened to, really.
You're right. I haven't played it in years. I should get it out again.
Yeah, you should. If it comes on, then I thank you for playing it, because it's certainly a creepy, weird song. I wanted to also ask you, are there any new Halloween songs that are coming out that deserve airplay?
Yeah, there's a couple. I played them on my show. Let's see, what are they? There's The Frankenstein Monster by Jay Lenhart. There's another one that's even better than that. Let me look over my playlist and decide what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it the new one from Jerry Only? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, of the Misfits, right?
Yeah.
It's called Fear the Walking Dead.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, that's the best new one I've heard this year.
Okay. Well, what we may do is we may because we're coming up against a break here. But what I may do is I want to play that song for everybody, so we can hear it and know that it's going to be playing on your show. By the way,
I sent you an MP3 of it.
Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. So I'll dig in and find it. So when is your Halloween show this year?
When is it?
Yes.
Oh, well, it goes on. It goes online Saturday, the 29th, and then you can hear it anytime after that. Anytime after Saturday morning, the 29th.
So
you can hear it anytime you want.
So
at drdemento.com.
Okay, drdemento.com. It'll be online. You'll be able to hear it. Now, is it free, or do people have to pay to subscribe to the Dr. Demento show?
You can buy an individual show, 2-hour show for $3.
Okay, all right.
And we've already got one Halloween show, a new Halloween show up that ran last Saturday. on our network. And then there'll be another new one, which I haven't finished yet, coming up this coming Saturday.
Oh.
And plus, there's every Halloween show from the past is available at drdemento.com.
Fantastic. Dr. Demento's with us tonight. Coming up, we're going to play the Jerry Only song from the Misfits, Fear the Walking Dead. So stay tuned for that right here on Ground Zero. 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. And happy Halloween. We'll be back. That's Jerry Only from the Misfits. Fear the Walking Dead. Special guest tonight, Dr. Demento on Ground Zero. It's good to have him. Good to have him on the program. So that's a good song. I like that song.
Yeah, Clyde.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah,
it just
what were you going to say?
Just came out.
How long ago?
I think it actually comes out Friday. This coming Friday.
Wow, and you're gonna play it on your show.
Yes,
that's gonna be amazing, and it's good to see that the Misfits are back together again. They were supposed to be touring with Alice Cooper, weren't they?
Yeah, they played with Alice Cooper in Dallas. Yeah, it's this weekend.
Wow, that'll be a great show. Glenn's with them, Jerry Only's with them, so it's going to be a great show. And Alice is going to be playing too. That's someone else that I remember. Some of my favorite horror songs were played by Alice Cooper. One of my favorites is Steven. I don't know if you remember that song. He just acts like this scary, psychotic, psychopathic kid, and it just gives you nightmares when you listen to it.
Yeah, he's always been that.
Yeah. I mean, there's some songs that he says he won't play anymore that were really, like, I don't think he's going to play Cold Ethel or I Love the Dead, but he certainly, I saw him perform Steven in concert, and it was really well done. And of course, he had he still has the guillotine, and he has all the other stuff. So Alice Cooper concerts are still great. I enjoyed them very much. Yeah.
And the Misfits, my manager also manages the Misfits.
Yes. John Cafiero, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah, he's amazing. Osaka pop star. Yeah, in fact, there was oh my gosh, I was looking at some history, and they were talking about his involvement with resurrecting a lot of great bands. They talked about your punk album that you have out. That was one of the last things we promoted that you came out with. We were talking about that. We had Barnes and Barnes on the show too, which was great.
Yeah, they're still available.
So. What exactly are people asking for now? I mean, the Weird Al Yankovic movie is, I think, due to come out soon. It's a parody of a parody. Did you get a chance to see it?
Yeah. I'm even in it for a couple of seconds. And Rainn Wilson plays the part of Dr. Demento in the movie.
Well, how did you feel about him playing you? I think it was a pretty good choice, don't you?
Yeah, he did fine.
Although I did see a portrayal of you by Patton Oswalt on a Laugh or Die segment, and I think that was
Patton Oswalt was originally set to play me in this movie, but he had an accident and broke his foot.
Oh, okay. Well, he did a great job. There's actually a preview going around, or a trailer going around on Laugh or Die that said Funny or Die, that it was supposed to be the inspiration for the new Weird Al movie, right? Yeah, it was kind of a trial balloon for the movie, I guess you'd say. But anyway, by the time that they actually came to shoot the movie, Rainn Wilson had to step in for Patton, and he did a great job. Yeah, it was great. I can hardly wait to see it. Is it going to be released in theaters with Roku, or is it just going to go to Roku? It's going to go to Roku. It's playing a few places in theaters. Like it played in L.A. and Newport Beach last week, and it's going to play in New York this next weekend. And I'm going to November 1st, I believe it's playing in New York, and I'm going to be there for that show. Oh, that's going to be amazing to have you there. And Weird Al's going to be there too, I'm sure. Yes, right. So, and it's kind of nice, when you look back at your career, how much of an influence you've had on the whole music industry. I know that I've told you before that you're one of my inspirations. I've had you, when I got to know you, was even more inspiring. But just the idea of you and what you've done to music. And I was actually reviewing your Larry King interview one time, and you were on with David Letterman, and how important that was for all of us who are Dr. Demento fans to actually see you on TV and talking about your background and having us be so proud. You coming to Reed College anytime soon? Probably next January. All right, that's good. I'm hoping to see you because, of course, last year we had a COVID problem. We couldn't see you because of COVID, so they put the kibosh on that pretty good. Right. So nothing's confirmed yet, but I'm hoping to be there in January. Well, that'll be exciting. So once again, I need you to plug your Halloween show that's coming out on drdemento.com. My Halloween show. I have two Halloween shows. One's already up at drdemento.com. I put it online on the 22nd, last Saturday, and there'll be a second show, which I haven't quite finished preparing yet, but that'll be up on October 29th, and you can hear it any time, actually. Fantastic. Dr. Demento, Godspeed to you. We love you always, and thank you so much for being on this program. You have a good night. Take care. We'll be back with more Ground Zero tonight. Of course, we're having a lot of great guests, Halloween guests. Mr. Lobo coming up. Horror host and all-around great guy, Mr. Lobo. We'll be back with more. 503-225-0860. We'll be back.
Is that a new music app?
Yeah, check it out. Surfer Music Discovery. It links to thousands of online stations, but the twist is you see the song names and artists that are now playing live.
That's different. No guessing. Looks like a waterfall of music.
So many formats. Rock, oldies, country, R&B, jazz, and a whole lot more.
How's that spelled?
Surfer. S-U-R-F-R.
Is it expensive?
It's free. No need to sign up or sign in.
Get the Surfer Music app free from Google Play or the App Store.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Join me on a journey where getting lost is the only true destination. For the past, present, and future all coexist on the same timeline. Where happiness is an illusion. This is the future we are in right now. Where our phones are the first things that we touch when we wake up, the last thing we touch before falling asleep. Radiant, seductive screens we so lovingly, endlessly gaze upon. Much like you're doing right now. Well, welcome to a future where our true reflection is only revealed once the screen goes dark. Welcome to the darkness. I hope you find it enlightening.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Sammy.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Sammy.
The loudspeaker spoke up and said,
Wait, Sammy.
Give up. Give up. Give up.
I'm Clyde Lewis, and this is Ground Zero. The numbers to call tonight, 503-225-0860. That's 503-225-0860. I hope you enjoy the little Halloween music history that we had just a while ago, because it's kind of fun to look back at some of the songs. Dr. Demento, of course, is a treasure, and having him on is amazing. One of my heroes of radio. And a lot of you, of course, love Dr. Demento. So it's good to have him on the radio with us. But, I want to, remind everyone that this month is certainly the month of paranormal hijinks, and many that we observe in the month are forbearing the arrival of all Dia de los Muertos, or the Day of the Dead. Halloween, of course. I mean, it gives us a reason to forego some of the political talk of the moment, dig deep into chilling stories and meaningful coincidences that are happening around us. Various causes have been offered to explain, what's going on with the world, why the world's so screwed up, socioeconomic, politically, and all of the cultural realms seem to be at odds with each other at the moment. But there is that cause certainly is overlooked, and that is in some quantum way we're being influenced on a more etheric level, and that what sometimes is dismissed as superstition is what most certainly has us in its grip, and that we can't see the path that is before us. There are a lot of people that when they're confronted with many peculiarities in their lives become uncomfortable because either they haven't taken the time to notice anomalous activity until it's pointed out to them, or they notice and then they shut down when anyone wants to point them out. And I'm sure that they're expecting something that would be, considered very Hollywood, but we've been raised that way, right? Indoctrinated with really cool horror films, especially at Halloween. And then recently there was a film that was released called Frightener 2. And it features a clown called Art, who I guess massacres a lot of people. I mean, the film is so effective and gory that people are allegedly passing out and throwing up in the theater. And it reminds me again of William Castle and how he used to make a horror movie a major experience. And, I remember mentioning the movie The Tingler back in the day where we actually rigged a theater to give a jolt of electricity to patrons. But they told us that, we couldn't do that. But, William Castle used to hire nurses to come be a part of his films, and you had to sign a release saying that if you lose your mind during the movie, you're not going to sue him. It was an amazing thing, and that's why I'm thinking maybe a lot of this whole thing with the Frightener is kind of a hype, but maybe not. Coming on the show today, right now, is Mr. Lobo. Of course, we've had him on the show before. Mr. Lobo's Cinema Insomnia is a late-night cult TV sensation. It's been around for 20 or so years. It's now on Roku, channel OSI 74, Twitch, YouTube, and it has over 22 episodes available on Alpha Video DVD. Host of Blobfest at the Colonial Theater for 9 years and producer and curator of many creature features, tributes, and live spook shows. He's appeared in many Mystery Science Theater 3000 box sets and nostalgic documentaries like American Scary Monsters, Among Us, Virginia Creepers, and he talks about bad movies that he claims are just misunderstood. He played the amazing Criswell in Plan 9 in 2016, a remake of Ed Wood's Plan 9 from Outer Space. He worked on the retro horror flick The Ranger for Shudder. He was even spoofed on Scooby-Doo and attacked by wrestler Chris Jericho on TMZ. He'll be seen in the upcoming horror film Feeders 3. Mr. Lobo is a 3-time award-winning horror host, including the Rondo Monster Kid Hall of Fame Award, the Horror Host Hall of Fame Award, and the Forey Ackerman Lifetime Achievement Award. Mr. Lobo lords over Slumber Party movie fun with his patented blend of humor, satire, and claims. As I said, they're not bad movies, they're just misunderstood. Mr. Lobo, welcome back to Ground Zero.
It's great to be back, Clyde. Good to hear your voice.
It's good to hear you, man. You've been busy, haven't you? Halloween is your time of year.
We've been really busy, and I certainly never want to correct the host, but I believe the movie is Terrifier 2.
Oh, is it? It's Terrifier. What did I say it was?
Frightener 2.
Frightener. Okay, it's Terrifier. You're right.
Terrifier 2.
Okay, I didn't know what it was. Have you seen
People
Terrifier?
Throwing up. They're throwing up in the aisles, Clyde. They're throwing up. It's too much. It's basically it is interesting because when Blair Witch came out, that was the thing, is that everybody was throwing up when Blair Witch came out. There are a lot of ushers who quit their jobs when Blair Witch was playing because they had to sweep up the vomit.
Yeah, Art the Clown is pretty scary, though, I think.
He is really scary. I mean, really scary. I feel like if you're a clown and you look like that, you should register.
Certainly. Terrifier 2. Yeah, I was reading the stories and I was thinking, doesn't that sound like a William Castle event?
It does. And William Castle was the master. He used to four-wall these movies and travel, and as you said, he'd had the ambulance parked out front and the registered nurses handing out the certificates that you have to sign, a waiver, just so you protect the theater from being sued and all that.
So,
wonderful.
Have you seen Terrifier 2?
I have not. I saw the original Terrifier, and I actually had the honor of presenting the very first screening of the short film that Terrifier was based on with Art the Clown.
All Hallows Eve? Is that what All Hallows Eve?
I believe so. Yeah, it was a short, and then they extended it into Terrifier, and then now Terrifier 2. And that's very, I think that's very kind of promising, because usually with film festivals, that doesn't happen. That's the promise of, somebody sees your short film, and then, you get green-lighted for a feature. And that did happen with the makers of Terrifier.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to see it. Maybe I'll see it in the confines of my own home. I mean, After all, I just watched Halloween Ends. And
I have not seen it.
Oh, you haven't seen it? I thought you'd see it by now.
I've just been, I'm a little busy this time.
Yes.
Just a little busy.
Just a little busy right now. Just a little
But
busy.
I will get to actually relax and watch a movie. I did see Smile, which I thought was very good.
Yeah, Wes, my producer's seen it. Ron and I wanted to go see it, but we've just been like, we feel like old men going, we're going to go to a movie. And we just don't. I mean, we just stay home. The rain's here finally. We just want to stay home, drink coffee, sit in our pajamas, and eat Captain Crunch. That's basically what we ought to do.
I couldn't get down with some Captain Crunch, but I do love the sanctity of a motion picture theater.
Yeah.
I do thirst for that sort of communal experience and to sort of pay our respects. I saw Star Trek the Motion Picture recently, the 4K restoration. I've got 5 copies of that damn movie in my house, but I had to go out in the theater and see the restoration of Star Trek the Motion Picture.
Yeah, that's the best way to see movies, I think, is in the theater. It really is. Certainly is. We're going to be back with Mr. Lobo. Mr. Lobo with us tonight on Ground Zero, 503-225-0860. Hey, call up and tell us about your favorite horror movie. I know a lot of people wanted me to revisit this, so I am with Mr. Lobo. 503-225-0860. Don't go away. Insomnia and Mr. Lobo with us tonight on Ground Zero, 503-225-0860. You were talking about movie theaters, and you were talking about...
yes, just like Beeger, we want to connect. The same reason that we go see a movie in a theater is the same reason we buy it 5 times on video, because we want to connect with these things that we love, even if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I've noticed, too, that when I don't see it, there haven't been many movies that have been motivators to get me into theaters. Maybe some of the superhero movies, 1 or 2 of those. But I think the movies right now are in kind of a slump, and I don't think they're going to be releasing anything that's going to be major until 2023. But I watched Halloween Ends on TV rather than movie theater, and I thought that maybe I would have enjoyed it more in a movie theater, because I know it's rolling in a movie theater right now. But
Peacock, right?
What's that?
Peacock? You watched it on Peacock?
Yeah, I watched it on Peacock, and, I saw the other Halloween on Peacock, too. I have also been watching, I saw Hellraiser, the new Hellraiser. What was your thoughts on the new Hellraiser and the idea of Pinhead being a woman?
I liked it. It's not the worst Hellraiser movie.
Do you think it's a new genre of Hellraiser? Because it was nothing. I didn't find it to be as disturbing, even though it was disturbing, but not as disturbing.
When you get into a 11th entry into a series, how can you surprise anybody with anything anymore?
Right.
I thought it was, like I said, I would put it in the top 5 Hellraiser movies. It's not as bad as the third one.
Right.
I think it's
Did we lose him? Oh, we lost him. Okay, well, we were talking about, hopefully we can get him back to talk about this. This is very interesting stuff. We're going to go to, let's go to Jose in Texas for a little bit. Hey, Jose, you're on Ground Zero.
Hey, Clyde. Nice to speak to you again. I guess we'll make up some time until it gets back.
Yeah.
So, to the point that you guys were talking about those horror films and slashers, I personally like the Joe Carpenter films with Michael Myers and what's extended till now.
Right.
And the Chucky films. My generation will always be haunted by that.
I think one of the best. I think one of the best films, though. I mean, it was horror science fiction, but I think They Live will actually be one of the best films I can say that I never grow tired of watching. I think that's a great movie.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's funny you say that because The Brain That Wouldn't Die. You remember that film?
Yeah, I do. Uh-huh.
Okay, so I was actually going to bring up this point, and I was hoping it'd be a discussion between you guys.
Well, yeah, I think Mr. Lobo's back. Bring him up. We'll have him get in the conversation here. So
Excellent.
Jose is talking. Oh, what's up? Okay, all right. I was just wondering. He went away again, so we're going to try and get him back. I don't know. We're having problems with the phones and with Skype tonight. I don't know why. We've been having problems all day with all kinds of stuff in the other control rooms, but today it seems like they're coming after us for this. So what were you saying about the brain that wouldn't die?
Yeah, right. You're doing something right, Clyde. That's the
I hope
issue.
so. Yeah.
But so the brain that wouldn't die. So I want to reference 2019 with Mr. Dr. Canavero with the brain transplant that was supposed to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You remember that incident or that
Yes.
time and point?
I do.
Okay. So I remember hearing that, and I personally felt like, well, you know what? That's immortal. You know that if anything, it's just nobody should, right? But then I started thinking, who's going to wake up after the surgery? You know. And
Did
this
you?
goes back to
Let me ask you this: are you familiar with a film called Black Friday?
I do. Yeah.
It was Boris Karloff. I think. Let's see. It was Boris Karloff, and it was Bela Lugosi. And apparently, this guy, he's a gangster, or this other guy is a teacher, and he gets a brain transplant with a gangster. And every time he hears a siren, he turns into the guy. It's kind of like a play on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Once again, talking about brain transplants and whether or not if you transfer a brain into someone else's skull, they have the same mannerisms and the same personality.
So hear me out on this. So with the Pam Reynolds incident where she physically died, she had no brain conscious at all.
Right. So
it goes hand in hand with the mind relationship with the soul, with the astral projecting and the remote viewing.
Yeah.
So in that concept, if they were to do it, because they haven't done it yet, I don't think they've really passed anything to do it. I know they've been traveling countries to do it, but with that concept, and then referring back to the 1962 film, like, who would really wake up? You get me?
Well, I mean, they've been, like I say, they've been doing this. They've been looking over the human brain for some time now. They're looking at it. They want to see how brains function. They want to see how we can take the neuro firing of the transmitters and doing the same way, the neurotransmitters doing the same way with computers. But that's a lot of data that you're going to be having to put into a computer to have it even function anywhere near as close as the human brain. And that's how advanced these things are. This is so advanced that,
Exactly. So the soul plays off of the mind to be able to do these things on another dimension, really. And so that's when I pose that question, like, who really wakes up? The being in the mind or the soul?
Yeah.
And it really had to go back to that film, 1962, The Brain That Wouldn't Die, with the car accident, the wife, and keeping her alive.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's interesting. We'll be seeing probably a lot of that transpire in the future. I mean, in the near future, actually, when we start, doing that. If we're going to be taking brains or whatever, and we're going to compact them into a box or into a computer, we may have that happen. Let's go to Chris in New York. Hey, Chris, you're on Ground Zero.
Yeah, how you doing? My question is more about when you can't get rid of the nemesis. I was thinking of a movie with Jennifer Love Hewitt where she's going to the guy, why don't you just die? Where the Freddy Krueger, you just can't get rid of them. What do you think of that?
Well, a lot of that has to do with the idea that these killers are like viruses; they just don't go away. It's the whole point of when I interviewed, the guy who wrote World War Z, and Max Brooks, interviewed him, and he said that's the whole point behind a lot of these monsters and a lot of these creatures, is that, like with vampires and zombies and maybe even these serial killers that come back from the dead, many of them are just viruses. They're like Freddy Krueger's a mind virus. He gets in and he haunts you in your dreams and he kills you in your dreams. But he has this personage of a burned child killer. Mike Myers is the same way. He's just a shape. They don't call him Mike Myers. That's just the name of the guy that occupies the body of this creature, this shape. In fact, there are many different versions of the shape that have been seen in the movie. And of course, you take a look at Friday the 13th, and Jason wasn't the killer. in Friday the 13th. I don't know if anybody realizes that. Jason was not the killer in Friday the 13th. His mother was the killer in Friday the 13th. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, you see how it works, how the dimensions work in this situation.
Yeah, so there just doesn't seem to be a means to that final ending available.
Well, they do finalize it. I mean, Halloween Ends is the only movie that has a title that's a spoiler, because they did end it finally when Michael Myers, with Michael Myers, they've ended it pretty permanently, I believe. They've ended it with him, but you never know. There's always someone out there. I mean, even though we saw, a bunch of Halloween movies come and go, Rob Zombie decided to do his own version of that, and so he did his own version of Halloween, which is pretty good, actually. Really well done. So you never know. If somebody may want to do a different version or reboot it, just like they did with Hellraiser, they rebooted Hellraiser, and now they have a woman playing Pinhead, which I think is very interesting. So, Chris, thank you for the call. We're going to be back with more from Mr. Lobo. We had a phone problem. Finally got him back. We're going to talk with him. Also, more questions, or at least would love to hear from you about some of your favorite horror films, and maybe a little background on some historic ones, too, if you want to talk about some very old ones that you may like. 503-225-0860. Back with more. Don't go away.
I would like to scan all of you in this room, one at a time. I must remind you that the scanning experience is usually a painful one, sometimes resulting in nosebleeds, earaches, stomach cramps, nausea, sometimes other symptoms of a similar nature. At this point, I'd like to call for volunteers. Now, I'd like you to think of something specific.
Do I have to close my eyes?
It doesn't matter.
All right, yes, I have something.
The Mind Force. Scanners. Their thoughts can kill.
Rated R.
I was working in the lab late one night when my eyes beheld an eerie sight. For my monster from his slab began to rise, and suddenly, to my surprise,
He did the murder.
Stop that! You're not going to do a song while I'm here.
On a June night in 1980, Friday the 13th, 12 of her friends were murdered.
Rated R.
When you die, ain't nothing but a dream stay. When you die, ain't nothing like a crystal lake. Tell me why it's nothing but a sin game. I'll kill you that way.
Turn it off! Turn that off!
What's your major malfunction?
I'm Clyde Lewis. Yeah. Mr. Lobo with us tonight on Ground Zero. And I found out that Mr. Lobo's in the middle of a storm. That's why his Skype went out. It's because he's in the lightning and the thunder. That's like,
I think I'm blaming gremlins.
yeah. You're blaming gremlins. Yeah, well, that happens sometimes, even the best of the horror hosts out there. And, it
happened to William Shatner and John Lithgow.
Oh, really?
Yes, Gremlins did.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Gremlins. Yeah, of course, when they were on the plane in the Twilight Zone.
Right.
It's one of my favorite Twilight Zones.
It's a wonderful one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a scary one. You know, I was going to ask you, what did you think? I don't know, and I always ask you if you've seen these, because I'm just a fanatic when it comes to movies. Have you seen Werewolf by Night?
Yes, it was wonderful.
Wasn't it amazing?
That immensely.
Oh my gosh.
I've been wanting to see Man-Thing in a film since I was a kid, and boy, that was a great one.
Man-Thing was amazing looking, and the whole werewolf story was just tremendous.
It was.
It was too short of a film, though.
It wasn't really a film. It seemed like it was like just a special, perfect thing for Halloween. I would have loved to have seen that, as a kid. Even I would have think that would have been a great thing to see on Halloween.
Yeah.
I think they were just testing the waters with that premise because the Marvel comics did have that cycle where they did horror stuff. They had the Monster of Frankenstein, and then they had a Tomb of Dracula, and then of course Werewolf by Night and all that. And the person who directed this usually does soundtracks. This is the first thing they ever directed. This person did the music for the Avengers movies and all that. He's a composer, and somehow they tasked him with directing this Werewolf by Night thing for Marvel, and it was fabulous.
Oh, it's
good, a great homage to classic monster
Definitely,
stuff.
And they need to do more shows like that where they can. I mean, here's the thing that I think a lot of people would agree with: the Munsters reboot would have been better if it were in black and white. Yes or no?
They wouldn't. Yes, they wouldn't allow it. Netflix didn't allow it to be black and white, so he just went the opposite direction. But to be honest, it kind of grew on me. I liked seeing all the color in it.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of people don't know this, but as I was watching, I couldn't help but see the influence that Rob Zombie had because of the fact that he used to be the designer for Pee-wee's Playhouse.
That's right. Yeah, he did work on that show, and a
lot of that looked like
the background.
It looked like Pee-wee's Playhouse if it were done in a goth sort of way, and the colors.
Again, a great thing to discover. I would think, like I said, I mean, we got to bring kids into this stuff somehow. I think that would be a great TV event, and this is another one like Werewolf by Night, where it feels like a backdoor pilot or a special.
Yeah,
it doesn't really feel like a movie.
I mean, I would watch a new Munsters if Zombie was behind it. I think that. The idea that it would never have met the expectations because you cannot replace Fred Gwynne, you cannot replace Al Lewis, and you cannot replace Yvonne DiCarlo. And I interviewed Butch Patrick a while ago, and he said he loved the film. He thought it was a great Valentine to, the TV show that he did. And
I mean, to be honest, how many times have we gone to the well with the Munsters already? I mean, there was the Munsters Today.
Yeah.
There was that Mockingbird Lane film. So this isn't the first time, certainly. And I think that when you have a remake, a reboot, a sequel, a prequel, a reimagining, it always boosts the original. It always brings people back. People will go all the way back and watch those old shows and rediscover those old shows. Yeah. It's a point of entry for another generation, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't think – I think that if people look back, they give it a moment, and they look back at the Munsters, the new Munsters that Rob Zombie did, I think you're right. It's going to grow on them. They're going to realize just how charming it was, that it was most definitely had, tones of Pee Wee Herman in it. It had a lot of tones of what I call psychotronic. I remember Psychotronic magazine when they used to do the big psychotronic stuff where you see Grandpa standing there.
I think people don't understand things that are ironic. I mean, there was pure camp in this, and I think that a lot of people can't register camp.
No. I don't think they have an. It's a matter of being involved with the B movie long enough to understand why it's so entertaining. And I think Rob, everything he's done except for his own movies where he's done the gore stuff, everything he's done as Rob Zombie has been full of camp, and probably one of the most original I think ideas. It's like a horror host who's become a singer. That's the way I always look at Rob Zombie. He's not Zachary. He's Rob Zombie.
Right.
Let's go to John in New York. Hey, John, you're on with Mr. Lobo. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to mention one of the most, I think, profound movies that was, it wasn't necessarily a horror movie, but one that affected people right to the core still to this day would be Jaws, I think.
Oh, yeah.
curious what you thought about. I mean, Jaws scared everybody.
Jaws was a horror
everybody.
movie. Jaws was a horror movie. I mean,
right? I didn't know if it was an action thriller or a horror.
No, it's a horror. It's a horror film because I mean, you've got an apex predator chasing people that'll kill them. And,
I know.
And you know, those...
when that one kid just explodes into a fountain of blood, that was pretty shocking to this day.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's like you see that, and it's. I mean, even when what was her name? I even remember the girl's name. Her name was Chrissy. Chrissy swimming alone.
Yeah, the first scene,
and she gets attacked. But you know what? That's reminiscent of what's her name? Julia Adams when she's swimming in the Black Lagoon, and the creature comes up and he touches her toe in that scene. And I'll tell you,
that scene, that's real pain on her face because the divers that are pulling her accidentally went both directions at once and nearly split her like a wishbone.
I had no idea. All I know is that scene, and you go back to the B horror films, that scene in Creature from the Black Lagoon where Julia Adams is pulled by the creature into the water is the most terrifying thing since Jaws. And, I mean, to this day, it still holds up as being terrifying because there's nothing more terrifying than standing in the water and feeling something crawling around you. It's just creepy. Mr. Lobo with us tonight on Ground Zero, talking about our favorite horror films. If you want to call in, 503-225-0860. Don't go away. Mr. Lobo with us tonight on Ground Zero, Cinema Insomnia. And, wow, let's go to Luann immediately. Got to hear about this. Luann in Oregon, you have a story about Yvonne DiCarlo. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I used to be a nurse, or I'm a retired nurse, and I took care of her years ago, and she passed on so I can share the story. But one night I was on duty, and she wasn't my patient, but I knew she was in the room, so I'm kind of starstruck, so I tiptoed in the room and kind of looked at her in the bed and kind of looked out the window, and all of a sudden she said, "Is it snowing, dear?" to me. And I just turned around and laughed, and she laughed hysterically too, because we both knew what I was up to. And so anyway, the next night I asked if she could be my patient, and she was. She was able to be my patient, and we laughed all night long, and she was just the best, most wonderful human being. I just wanted to share that with everyone who knows her.
Well, it's good to hear that, because, I mean, amazing actress.
Nice to hear.
Considered one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, and was able to make the transition from movies to TV with the Munsters. Al Lewis and Fred Gwynne, of course, didn't know if they could work with her because she was such a remarkable actress. And sure enough, they all hit it off, and they had a great time on the Munsters. So, yeah, thank you for that story. It's nice to hear that she was wonderful.
So down-to-earth human being. So thankful I got to meet her and know her.
Well, thank you so much. That's it. That's a great story. Let's go
Al Lewis did lie about his age to protect Yvonne DiCarlo, because I think at that time he was younger than she was.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
That's what I heard.
Oh. Let's go to Nick in Wisconsin. Hey, Nick, you're on Ground Zero with Mr. Lobo.
Hey, Clyde. I just want to say you're my hero. I love you.
Oh, thank you.
And the story I got is I've got my wife and I got 3 kids.
Mm-hmm.
And my 13-year-old daughter, she's the only one that likes horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what kind of... We watched the end, and she was so mad about that.
The end of what? Oh, the Halloween movie?
Oh, she was so irate. She was like, "I'm going to sign the petition. They're going to remake it."
Oh, and, Mr. Lobo, what do you think of that? There's a petition now that they've set out to remake Halloween Ends because the fans are not happy with how it ended.
Unfortunately, I'm not a fan of do-overs in that regard. You know, I mean, the movie's already made and it's already out there. It can't be taken back. Maybe someone could make another movie. with a different interpretation.
Halloween ended wrong.
I know some people who worked on this movie, and I know the director was deliberately trying to do something that would provoke people and upset them. So mission accomplished.
Yeah, he did a great job because a lot of people were complaining there wasn't enough Michael Myers in the movie.
Yeah,
and it's true. There isn't enough Michael Myers in the movie. What were you going to say?
And then the other kid that he was going to get death threats.
What's that about the kid? Oh, Corey?
And then the Corey kid was going to get death threats.
Yeah.
They told the actor, "Are you sure you want to sign up for this? Because you're going to get death threats if we do it right."
Yeah, and I think that's probably what he's getting right now. Nick, what were you going to say?
And then the other thing is, my daughter, she's only 13, so she has no clue who Rob Zombie was. And against my wife's will, we watched the Rob Zombie movies, and my daughter is just starstruck. She thinks that Rob Zombie just walks on water now.
Oh yeah, he does, and a lot of other things too. Yeah.
So
I love Rob.
Like I said, Clyde, you're my hero. You keep doing what you're doing, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Rob Zombie. This is a guy that I was a fledgling B-movie fanzine writer. I did a B-movie fanzine called B-Lame when I was young. I was doing it to make money. And because I was between jobs, I needed money, and we were going to make a movie, and so I did this fanzine. Well, there was a company called Garage Pile, which was a hillbilly rock magazine that bought us out and said that we could share the same printing with them, and they would, and that way we could split the printing and be cheaper. And so I was able to use all the Rolodex people from Garage Pile to get a hold of people, and I got a hold of Rob Zombie. And it was back when he was with White Zombie, and he was really nice. Talked about horror movies and the horror movies he liked, and he really liked. Oh gosh, that old movie. What's it called? Black Sunday. Black Sunday. Talked about Black Sunday for a while. Dario Argento.
Mario Bava.
Yeah, Mario Bava. Fulci zombie movies. He just likes all the old ones too. He's very into the classics.
He loves movies. It's really obvious. A lot of directors make movies because they love movies.
Yeah.
This is a fan who's making movies.
Definitely. That's what he should be doing. Let's go to Carlos in California. Hey, Carlos, you're on Ground Zero.
I love that Monster Smash. But listen, my favorite horror movie was The Blair Witch Project.
Really?
So if you remember that, yes, because it scared the hell out of me. I'll tell you that, because it was so real.
Yeah.
The other movies are too predictable.
But people to have them come out because people thought that those people were really dead. They had to actually have them come out and say, no, it's just a hoax.
Do you want to hear something? Want to hear something really stupid? This is me, okay? Young, green behind the ears. I'm interviewing the director of the show. He comes in and he brings the girl in. That's the main character in the movie. I didn't even know it was her because I hadn't seen the movie. Talking with them, come to find out that she is starring in the movie as the girl that gets killed. And so here I am interviewing them, and I go, oh, I get it. This is that you're pretending like these people were killed, and it's a fictionalized movie. And I felt stupid because the girl that was sitting there in my studio was the girl that had the flashlight up to her face with the snot coming out of her nose, going, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." So,
but I got a question for you guys. Now, this is more on the real side here. Why is it that so many celebrities die on Halloween? Sean Connery, River Phoenix.
Vincent Price, didn't he die on Halloween?
I hate to say it, but
Vincent
it's a big
Price.
drinking night. It's a big party night. It's Devil's Night. I think that you got a lot of mounting hazards.
Yeah, it's probably true.
Houdini also died on Halloween. You got Anton LaVey, who was born on April the 30th on I believe Beltane, the witchcraft Beltane holiday, and then he died on Halloween. Boy, I mean that's crazy. George W. Our president, George Bush, died on Halloween.
Interesting.
So it's very, very creepy. There's something going on. I'm just wondering if
sometimes we bring those demons on ourselves, though. If we have a certain feeling about Halloween, or if we have a certain dread connected to it, we might bring it upon ourselves too.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Carlos, that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's kind of fascinating what you bring it up. Quickly, Walt, you're on Ground Zero with Mr. Lobo.
Hi, Clyde. I told Ron I hate to call you 2 nights in a row, but Mr. Lobo is very entertaining.
Thank you. Very kind.
And you're a font of knowledge. I was telling Ron, is for my money, you really can't beat the old stuff. 1933 Frankenstein with Boris Karloff, and then I think about 1935 they made the great sequel, The Bride of Frankenstein, with Karloff and Elsa Lanchester. And for the latter day stuff, I like the 2 classics that were made the year I was born, 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and
That's
The
a
Thing
great
from
one.
Another World. And I don't think we have the actors and the actresses today that they had back then. The casting was superb. I mean, Michael Rennie as Klaatu, and you had Patricia Neal. She had the big expressive eyes.
Yeah, I think the reason why they were so good then is because they really knew what they were doing. They weren't just throwing a script and say, okay, perform. They really had a passion for getting this message
out. They were stage trained actors, and then also too, I think the films were allowed to be atmospheric and allowed to breathe.
Yeah.
They're not filmed in front of a green screen talking to a ping pong ball. There's human energy in that room, and they're all feeding on that energy.
Yeah, that's hopefully we'll find that energy again. And Mr. Lobo, thank you so much for being on this Halloween program. I really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure, Clyde. I'm sorry about the gremlins, but I had a good time.
CinemaInsomnia.com. Check it out. You're going to love it. It is a great show. He's a great horror host. Tune in on CinemaInsomnia.com. Thanks again, Mr. Lobo. Everybody, have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.